affect the outcome of an election. It is both amazing and galling that all of a sudden, post-election, this has become a news story and a scandal worthy of investigation. With less than a month left in my chairmanship of this committee, the examination of irregularities in the 2020 election will obviously be my last investigation and last hearing as chairman. But oversight into election security should continue into the next Congress because we must restore confidence in the integrity of our voting system. As I said at the start, this effort should be bipartisan. In my statement announcing this hearing, I stated its goal was to, quote, resolve suspicions with full transparency and public awareness. What's wrong with that? That is what good oversight can accomplish. Unfortunately, Senators Schumer and Peters ignored my statement and instead chose to politically attack me in this hearing. As I commented in last Thursday's hearing on early treatment of COVID, closed-mindedness is a root cause of many problems we face. And just a quick aside about that hearing, about 7 days ago, it was attacked, unfortunately boycotted by Democrat members of this committee, except for a rather politically charged opening statement by Senator Peters. Two of those witnesses, two of those doctors who have the courage to treat COVID patients, told me, I think one of them told the committee, they're Democrats. And they were very disappointed by that boycotting by Democrats, that closed-mindedness, that politically charged opening statement. But to prove the worthiness and the value of that hearing, Dr. Corey, one of those Democrats, a person who's shown immense courage in treating successfully COVID patients, his 10-minute opening statement has received more than 4.4 million views in just the last 7 or 8 days. Obviously, Americans need that information. They have the right to know about early treatment, and they have the right to try early treatment. So my last pitch before I return to this hearing, if you or somebody you know gets COVID, seek a doctor. Again, you need doctor participation in this, but find a doctor who will at least consider and talk to you about early treatment. On with this hearing. In preparation for this hearing, I asked my staff to find out as much as they could about basic election mechanics, controls, and data flow. Much of the suspicion comes from a lack of understanding how everything works and how much variety there is in the way each precinct, county, and state conducts their elections. Even though decentralization makes it more difficult to understand the full process, it also dramatically enhances the security of our national elections. In addition to the witnesses testifying today, we spoke to state and local officials, as well as suppliers of election machinery, equipment, and data. I believe the alleged irregularities can be organized into 3 basic categories. Number 1, lax enforcement or violations of election laws and controls. 2, allegations of fraudulent votes and ballot stuffing. And 3, corruption of voting machines and software that might be programmed to add or switch votes. In the time we had, it was impossible to fully identify and examine every allegation. But many of these irregularities raise legitimate concerns, and they do need to be taken seriously. So here's a brief summary of what we did learn. And a lot of this should provide American public comfort in the integrity of our election system. First, multiple controls do exist to help ensure election integrity. Voter registration rules and election logs for both in-person and absentee vote balloting are used to verify eligible voters and help prevent fraudulent voting. But it is not a perfect system, as we will hear in testimony today. We have increased the percentage of votes using paper ballots from 82% in 2016 to 95% in 2020, and a lot of that had to do with the efforts of CISA and Chris Krebs, recognizing that was a vulnerability in our system, not having that audit trail. So this is a significant improvement in providing a backup audit trail, but only if full or statistically valid recounts occur. Optical scanners, ballot marking machines, and tabulators should not be connected to the internet during voting. Though we found some do have the capability of being connected, and there are allegations that some were. Once voting ends, those machines print out a paper report and also transmit voting data in digital form in 2 separate data streams, from precinct to the county level and then the state level. The first data stream, this is the official stream, is sent to the official state election management systems, and the second unofficial stream is to the unofficial media reporting system through companies like Edison Research and the Associated Press. There is no uniform method of transmission. It is not fully automated, and thousands of human beings are involved in the process. So human error does occur, but that is what paper backups and post-election canvassing is designed to catch. Today we will hear testimony on how election laws in some cases were not enforced, and how fraudulent voting did occur, as it always does. The question that follows is whether the level of fraud would alter the outcome of the election. This year, in dozens of court cases, through the certification process in each state, and by the Electoral College vote, the conclusion has collectively been reached that it would not. However, lax enforcement, denying effective bipartisan observation of the complete election process, and failure to be fully transparent or conduct reasonable audits has led to heightened suspicion. The most difficult allegations to assess involve vulnerabilities in voting machines and the software used. In order to effectively determine the extent to which voting machines were subject to nefarious intrusion or other vulnerabilities, computer science experts must be given the opportunity to examine these allegations. This is a complex issue that has been under congressional scrutiny for years. Since 2018, I'm aware of 3 oversight letters requesting information from the main suppliers of voting machines. This oversight is focused on Election Systems and Software LLC, Dominion Voting Systems, Inc., and Hart InterCivic, Inc. Today we have a witness from the Election Assistance Commission, which certifies voting machines, to describe what has been done and what more can be done to address any vulnerabilities. On March 7, 2018, it was reported that Senators Klobuchar and Shaheen asked, quote, major vendors of U.S. voting equipment whether they had allowed Russian entities to scrutinize their software, saying the practice could allow Moscow to hack into American election infrastructure. Then last year, on March 26, 2019, Senators Klobuchar, Warner, Reid, and Ranking Member Peters wrote, quote, the integrity of our elections remain under serious threat. Our nation's intelligence agencies continue to raise the alarm that foreign adversaries are actively trying to undermine our system of democracy and will target the 2020 elections as they did in 2016 and 2018 elections. A combination of older legacy machines and newer systems, vulnerabilities in each present a problem for the security of our democracy, and they must be addressed. And then on December 6, 2019, Senators Warren, Klobuchar, Wyden, and Congressman Pocan wrote, quote, we are particularly concerned that secretive and trouble-plagued companies owned by private equity firms and responsible for manufacturing and maintaining voting machines and other election administration equipment, quote, have long skimped on security in favor of convenience, leaving voting systems across the country prone to security problems. Moreover, again, this is a quote from that letter, moreover, when state and local officials work on replacing antiquated machines, many continue to run an old software that will soon be outdated and more vulnerable to hackers. The letter continues. In 2018 alone, voters in South Carolina were reporting machines that switched their votes after they had inputted them. Scanners were rejecting paper ballots in Missouri, and busted machines were causing long lines in Indiana. In addition, these senators write, researchers recently uncovered previously undisclosed vulnerabilities in nearly 3 dozen back-end election systems in 10 states. And just this year, after the Democratic candidate's electronic tally showed he received an improbable 146 votes out of 55,000 cast in a Pennsylvania state judicial election in 2019, the county's Republican chairwoman said, nothing went right on election day. Everything went wrong. That's a problem. These problems threaten the integrity of our election. Now again, those were 3 letters from Democrat members of Congress. Now, maybe I missed it, but I don't recall the media or anyone else accusing these 8 congressional Democrats of indulging in, quote, quackery and conspiracy theories, unquote, quote, or their letters of being a, quote, ridiculous charade, unquote, as Senator Schumer did when he used those exact same words attacking me in this hearing on the Senate floor. The fact that our last two presidential elections have not been accepted as legitimate by large percentages of the American public is a serious problem that threatens our republic. I do not say that lightly. This hearing is part of what should be ongoing congressional oversight that is meant to transparently address that serious problem. So before I turn it over to Senator Peters, I do want to remark that this is my last hearing as chairman. I want to express the fact that I think it's been an honor and privilege to serve. I think our track record, even though a couple last hearings, some of these investigations have grown to be a little rancorous, I regret that, but I think we really have an excellent track record of achievement. Over 100 bills passed and signed into law in this committee, 200 others passed by the committee, maybe not signed into law, but that can act as a foundation for future legislation. And so again, I just want to thank everybody for working together, staff. It's really been an honor and privilege. And looking ahead, I want to acknowledge Senator Carper had a very kind phone call to me just an hour ago. We'll probably be working in some capacity as chairman and ranking member in the committee on the permanent subcommittee investigations, and I look forward to trying to find those areas of agreement of things we can look into together to give the American people the information they need to know as it relates to government and other issues. So, Senator Carper, thanks for calling it. With that, I'll turn it over to Senator Peters.
Some of you are going to see a 2-minute commercial break. We will continue to listen into this Senate hearing when you return.
You know, Mr. Chairman, if we have learned anything over the past